60 Minutes Rewind.
To learn what is on the minds of the men we ask to do our fighting for us, a 60 Minutes crew flew to Vietnam with a plane load of replacements. Then we flew back home again with men who had served there a year or more to see what effect that year had had on them. They took off from Travis Air Force Base in California. It could have been a commercial flight to anywhere. Some of them had stowed portable television sets and guitars in the baggage compartment, hoping for an assignment where they could use them. No weapons. They'll be issued in Vietnam. Going to war is not like it used to be. There's no commanding officer on board, nobody in charge, unless perhaps it's the stewardesses. The plane is a commercial Super DC-8 chartered by the military.
We'd like to welcome you aboard Flying Tiger Line flight number F2B3 to Bien Hoa, Vietnam, with intermediate stops at Anchorage, Alaska, and Yokota Air Base, Japan. Our scheduled flying time to Anchorage will be 4 hours and 20 minutes, and we will be cruising at an altitude of 33,000 feet.
It is 20 hours and 12,000 miles to war over the Great Circle route to Bien Hoa Air Base near Saigon. From there comes assignment to an outfit that needs them in the field. All these men are in the Army. Some are draftees, some regulars, and some are going back to Vietnam for the second or third time. Their mood was wistful, reflective, as they talked with us about the war they were heading for and the country they were leaving behind.
I got drafted 2 days after I finished college, and I didn't particularly fancy leaving my folks and girl, but none of the other guys do either. But I feel that if my country thinks we should be there, it's given me a place to live for 23 years. It's been real good. I believe that if it thinks I should be there, I think I should be there.
When did you last see your mom, McDonald?
Wednesday morning.
Was she pretty shook?
Oh, not too bad. She took it pretty good.
What about you?
Can't do much about it. Either go over there or go to jail.
You for the war?
No, against it.
Why?
I don't think the United States government should have the right to draft a person and send him to a war that doesn't directly affect the security of the United States.
It was daylight high above the Pacific, flying with the sun across the international dateline. We drifted from seat to seat, finding familiar disagreement among them, too, on issues like the war itself and dissent back home.
How old are you?
21?
Hester, how old are you?
I'm 20, sir.
You're going over there for the first time and you volunteered. You're regular Army.
Yes, sir, I am. I didn't volunteer to go to Vietnam, though. I did volunteer to come into the service.
Tell me this, Giles. We've lost something over 40,000 men now, 40,000 American lives. As far as you're concerned, it's worth it? You'd be willing to sacrifice your life?
I'll tell you what, if I had to lay my life on the line for any man here, I'd do it. And I'm quite sure I'd do it without even thinking. To me, it's worth it.
Tell me something. Are you guys the least bit scared going over there?
Oh, when I first came down on orders, I was apprehensive, and my wife was real shook up. She still is, but like I told her last night, I said, really and truly, I'm not scared to be going over there. I don't know why. Maybe I should be. Some of the other people are, some of the people aren't. But really, I'm not scared. I'm not worried about it.
At first, I was scared. I had all the money and everything to go to Canada. I was going to fly to Montreal. But then I changed my mind and decided, well, some people do come back. I guess I'll take my chances.
Oh, well, with me, it was a half and half situation. At first, I really didn't feel anything. I found out I was going, so I said, okay, I'm going. That's all there is to it. There's really nothing I can do about it. Then about the last week or so, I really started getting kind of nervous and jumpy there. But now, well, I'm here, so there's really nothing to it. If I get zapped while I'm there, well, the world's not going to stop. So you're going to keep pushing.
To measure how deeply split these men might be about the war, we took a poll. We asked the question, are you in favor or are you against United States participation in Vietnam? These were the results. 120 of these men were in favor of our fighting there. 78 were against. A few were either asleep or undecided.
You ever think about actually picking up a gun and shooting a VC?
I thought about it, and I couldn't do it.
You couldn't do it.
No, I wouldn't do it.
Well, now, wait a minute. You're going to Vietnam. You're a U.S. soldier, and yet you couldn't kill a man?
I couldn't kill a man.
If that man came at you with a gun, you couldn't kill him?
If it was in self-defense, I would.
I mean, it's your life or his, man.
I noticed that the plane gets a little quiet the closer we come to Vietnam. What have you been thinking about, Jones?
Well, I think about home mostly, but when I get back, and I just want to get home. That's all.
You worried?
Well, I think everybody is a little, you know, probably just as calm as anybody else, but still a little worried.
Worried about what? Worried about the, I suppose, the thing everybody's worrying about, basically, getting killed?
That's correct. I mean, everybody's got that in mind, you know, that they may not come back, but I think as long as you keep straight, you're all right.
As the plane flew into the darkness at Benoit Airport, just getting through that year ahead must have been on the mind of every man aboard.
Gentlemen, if at any time while deplaning the aircraft has been hit by rocket or mortar fire, please continue into the terminal building while face down on the ground until you've been given the all clear.
The story will continue after this.
3 days later, again Benoit Airport. Another plane load, all Army, this time heading home. Many of them leaving a year to the day from the time they arrived. If they are leaner and harder than the men coming in, they are a year older and with some rough times behind them. If they are tired, it is partly because they've been exhausted by 2 to 3 days of Army processing, waiting in the barracks, waiting at the airport, waiting for the announcement to get on board.
May I have your attention in the terminal area. Detachment 5, ethereal port announcing immediate loading and departure of Universal Airlines flight Z2B4.
These men had made it, and they knew it. They were coming back whole. Coming back from the war isn't like it used to be either, and a commercial airliner looked more like home to these men than anything they had seen in months and months.
Opportunity to welcome you aboard. For myself, the rest of the crew, and Universal Airlines, we're very happy to have you with us on your return flight to the States.
Liftoff was at 7 p.m., the start of 20 hours back to California. This time it would be evening, then black night, then daylight to Alaska, and finally night again for the landing at Travis Air Force Base. Most of the men dropped right off to sleep, and it seemed an intrusion to bother them with questions. But gradually they gathered round to tell us what was on their minds after a year in Vietnam.
When I first came over here, I was against the war. Now that I am here and seen what is going on here, I am fully for the war here in Vietnam. These people do need help.
Most of the guys I know don't want to be there, and when they get out, they don't want to be there more, even more. They really hate it, and they think it's stupid.
Again on this flight, we asked everyone aboard, are you in favor or against U.S. participation in the Vietnam War? They asked us to announce the results.
Here are the results of the poll. On the way across to Vietnam, when we talked to principally draftees, but some regular Army fellows, some officers, some who were going back for their second or even their third tour in Vietnam, the results were 124 U.S. participation, 78 against U.S. participation. 9 guys were asleep. The result aboard this plane, the result of the poll aboard this plane, for U.S. participation in the war in Vietnam, 148. Against U.S. participation, 46. 14 were sacked out or didn't want to answer.
And then, what about pot? How available is it? And how heavily are the men smoking marijuana in Vietnam?
What about it, Petty? Is there a considerable amount of pot smoking where you were?
Yeah, there was a lot of pot smoking. There was nothing else to do.
I'll tell you what, Mike, if you beat that bush for 9 months like everybody else does, and you ain't got nothing else to do, I think you would smoke marijuana.
I would think it'd be dangerous as can be to get stoned and go into combat.
Well, you've been in as much combat as some of those guys have. You ain't got no alternative because you know you're going to get zapped and go home without a leg. If you're lucky, you're going to make it home like we did.
Is that a wound or a...
It's from a hand grenade.
Where?
Cambodia.
We were off the Pacific coast now, less than an hour from home. And getting home was what it was all about.
Chief, what's going through your mind right now?
Well, my wife, Julia, my 3 wonderful sons I have at home, and how thankful I am to be getting home to them.
What about you, Lieutenant?
Well, I'd have to say the first thing I'm looking forward to is seeing my wife. I was married 6 months before I came over here, and then I came to Vietnam. And I want to go meet good old what's-her-name again.
I'd like to know exactly if there's going to be much changes as far as attitude of people towards me coming back from Vietnam, and exactly how I'm going to react to what's going on back in the world right now as far as demonstrations.
And now, they are home.